Chris Dickens.
Chris Dickens is a world-renowned and praised editor who is best known for his work alongside director Edgar Wright on productions such as the zombie comedy Shaun of the Dead and the 1999 sitcom Spaced. He has also earned awards for his editing abilities in the Academy-winning film Slumdog Millionaire. Chris Dickens is a British film and TV editor graduated from Bournemouth Film School in 1990. He secured a job as a post-production sound trainee through a university connection, but found that he lacked the creative freedom he wanted. He then went on to work on a TV show called Spaced, where he met Edgar Wright. Whilst the TV show was running, Edgar Wright and the lead actor of the show, Simon Pegg, both co-wrote the horror comedy Shaun of the Dead, and Chris Dickens was chosen to be the lead editor of the project. After this, he also went to do the same for the next film, which was also co-written by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, Hot Fuzz. Chris Dickens' editing style showcased in these films is one of flashy and hyper-quick cuts. These techniques are normally safe for scenes in action movies where there are quick cut montages, but here in Chris Dickens' work he uses these cuts to make everyday activities seem like intense montages, which helps shape the visual comedy that Edgar Wright was going for. In an interview in a blog by Oliver Peters, Dickens talks about this action sequence editing style in Hot Fuzz. Edgar wanted a fast-paced style to mimic action films. There are quite a lot of cuts in some sections to create transitional elements and to show police procedure. This is shown in Hot Fuzz when there is a montage of Nicholas Angel arresting some local youths. Their crimes are small, such as underage drinking and public urination, but the fast pace of the scene with the over-the-top drama makes you feel like you're in a high-stakes action sequence. This really enhances the visual comedy. Usually in editing, you want cuts to seem fluid and unnoticeable. However, Dickens talks about how in Wright's heightened realistic world in both Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, him and Dickens decided to make some of the cuts more obvious. Later in the same interview, he says, "A lot of the cuts are nearly invisible and others are intentional, such as jump cuts. We wanted the cutting at time to draw attention to itself." Conventionally, jump cuts mess with the temporality of a film, but Dickens uses these edits intentionally to make the film more in the style of an action montage. The next big project Chris Dickens worked on, and maybe his most notable editing performance, was on the award-winning film Slumdog Millionaire. Chris was chosen as the editor because the director, Danny Boyle, had seen Hot Fuzz and liked the fast-paced editing and wanted some of that style to show through on Slumdog. His use of time in the film is very well displayed, through the flashbacks and separate storylines that all intertwine around the main story of the actual show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. He talks about the creative struggles he had whilst editing those timelines in this interview.
I mean, an intercutting was always on the cards, and the script was written like that, but it didn't always work when played out. As you know, that's what happens. You shoot it and it works in a different way.
You're too long here, or you're not long enough here. It's a matter of meshing all of that.
We had a lot of options. There's a lot of ways we could go with it, and that was the challenge, was to pick the right path, really.
His use of time is shown in the opening few minutes. After the first scenes where it shows the start of the game show, it then cuts forward in time to Jamal being interrogated. Then an upbeat song plays and the film cuts all the way back to when he was a child. The scene that follows seems like a feel-good montage, as it has freeze frames and quick flashy cuts. This style gives us 3 different timelines in the first few minutes of the film, all with different feelings. The first, with the game show, seems light-hearted, but also the visual style of fading to black and back and then white flashing strobe lights creates feelings of anxiety. Then when he is being interrogated, the filmmaking and editing creates an uncomfortable, dingy setting with long slow cuts to make the viewer really feel the tension. Then there comes the flashy montage, which feels like a fond memory and almost feels unrealistic and dreamlike. This really shows Dickens' post-production talents in making the editing create 3 different narratives with completely contrasting emotions. These techniques displayed show only a handful of ways that Chris Dickens shows his skills in the film industry, enhancing the narrative on all projects he works on. His fast-paced, unorthodox cutting techniques have definitely made an impact on the film industry as a whole, and his multiple awards prove this.